Although a little bit of a shorter experience, Spider-Man Miles Morales really is a fantastic game. I know $50 might seem like a bit of a hike, and maybe on PS4 it is, but for PS5 day one, looking the way it does, which is incredibly impressive in 4K, I really cannot complain about the price. A lot of people have been complaining about the time spent in the game. It's very short. Um, but I think that there's a lot of replayability. Similarly with the first Spider-Man, there's a ton of little side quests to do, and some of them are kind of annoying fetch quests. But some of them are legitimately more fights, which are entertaining. And there's kind of, I believe, a secret boss off of the side quests, which they also had in the original Spider-Man, which can extend the game by quite a little decent amount. Kind of what I was talking about earlier with the impressive visuals. It's incredible. It really is. It's snowing constantly, 24/7. New York's never seen so much snow, but it really does help bring to life the game. I think everybody was freaking out when they first saw the walk through the market scene, with all the snow and stuff like that. And imagine basically the entire game is like that. It really is beautiful, and well timed too. Playing it right now, we're headed into that season, so it's a very nice experience. This game had a heavy improvement on the combat from the original game. Now, the combat in the original game was fantastic, which is why it seems weird to say, oh, this is a huge improvement. It really is. There's a ton of new systems in place. For example, finishers is now a 15 hit combo rather than charging up a bar, and charging up a bar is now powerful stun attacks, which are essential for defeating some of the enemies in the game, which is really awesome that they just switched it around a little bit, gave new powers. Honestly, I would have been happy if it played exactly like Spider-Man. It was just a new story to explore, but they did change it up quite a decent amount. The combat felt better, and that may have to do with the DualSense. I played it on PS5, I should say that. That might have to do with the DualSense, but I don't really think it did. Movement has also been bumped up quite nicely from the original game. Which again, the movement in the original game was really nice, but they've one up themselves. The adaptive triggers on the DualSense definitely help, and being able to feel a lot of the footsteps and even just the webs like coming out of your wrist, you get to feel all of that with the DualSense, which helps a ton. And obviously, the PS4 game didn't have that opportunity. The story for this game is definitely much more contentious as far as whether people like it or not. Personally, I'm a fan of it, even though it was short. It tells a good origin story for Miles' Spider-Man, and you get to kind of go in depth with more, not really in depth, but you get to meet more characters who end up being allies at the end of the game. It tells a good story of him kind of opening up to being Spider-Man, telling more people, um, and just getting a larger base together. It's a very community focused story, in my opinion, and it focuses on a smaller issue than what the main Spider Man game focused on, but still manages to tell a pretty good story in that small area. I will say that the game kind of peters off a little bit at the end, which is a little bit unfortunate. The second to last boss fight really sucks. Like the worst I've played in either of the two Spider-Man games. And you have to go through a very long sequence at the end, which is boring as hell. I'm sure anybody that's played it will know. And I had a ton of bugs in my final boss fight. They tried some new stuff as far as like normally in a game when a boss gets like defeated and they move on to the next stage, they'll move back to their like base position so that they don't glitch out. In this game, there's some times when that doesn't happen, and so they'll just go into their next stage wherever they are, and that ended up getting the boss stuck into a wall for me, which I couldn't hit them through. I also had issues when I would get knocked over. Sometimes I would get stuck in the ground in the final boss fight multiple times, probably 5 times that happened to me, including 3 times while the boss was hitting me through the wall, um, which was not very fun. The final boss fight is pretty good other than that, though. It allows for a pretty diverse set of kind of counters to the boss. You don't have to do one specific thing. You can just try to get hits in. You can use the new invisibility power. Um, you can try to charge up the heavier attacks if you want to. There's a lot of good variation there. Overall, I'm going to give Miles Morales an 8 out of 10. Um, had the game not had a kind of shitty ending, story wise, good ending ish, ish ending, but gameplay wise, it slowed down to a crawl. It definitely would have been a 9 out of 10. Pretty much the entire time I was playing it, I was thinking 9 out of 10. Up until you get to the last hour, hour 15, hour and a half, where it really does slow down pretty disappointingly.